This is the DC motor experiment from Module 3. So as you can see, I have the DC motor here. I do not have a controller, so it's got to be started up manually. It's a little push and it'll start going. The code currently gets it at max power for 5 seconds, then slows it down. Another 5 seconds, then speeds it back up, and just goes through that loop forever. So, without the controller, it needs the manual start, but not too hard. It's got to twist a little bit and it'll go. So that is the motor going. I'll show the wiring now and the code. So here is the code being run. The output is set to pin 3, and the 4 loops are changing the power from max, which is 255, to lower, which is 220. And that loop just goes on forever. Here is the wiring. So we have the ground going to orange, and then the black wire. We have from pin 3 the 5 volts going to the red wire, and we have the 2 ends of the motor there. So that is the DC motor with a manual start. This is the servo motor experiment for Module 3. So here I have 2 servo motors, both set to rotate 150 degrees, but in opposite directions. So motor 1 is set to start at 0 degrees and then rotate to 150. Motor 2 is set to go from 150 to 0. So, yeah. And they're both powered by 5 volts from the Arduino. But they're set to different PWM pins. So I will show the code for that now. So first you have to set 2 servo tests. The first one, the angle starts at 0. So angle 1 equals 0, then angle 2 equals 150 for the second one. And those come in the 4 loops in the void loop section. So you can see that servo test dot right takes angle 1 as the argument, and servo test 2 dot right takes angle 2. So just in the 4 argument you have the 2 angles. And so the first one starts it at 0 and goes 150 for 1, and the second for loop starts at 150 and goes to 0 for motor 1, and it's just opposite for motor 2. So that's it for the code. Here I will show the wiring. So motor 1, you have the connections here for motor 1. Separate them out. So you have the orange wire goes to the PWM pin 11. The red wire, that goes then to blue, goes down and takes the 5 volts from the 5 volt pin, and the ground wire is the brown, which goes to the ground. It's similar setup per motor 2. The wiring is the same, so the middle wire, the red wire, takes the 5 volts from the Arduino, and then the pin, PWM pin, is now pin 10. And I have the 5 volts wire starting from Arduino and going to this column here, and then it just gets supplied to both motor 1 and motor 2. So that is the wiring, and that is the code for the servo motor. This is the stepper motor experiment for module 3. So here we have the stepper motor rotating clockwise at the maximum speed. This is the speed and rotation direction can be changed with the code. So right now we're clockwise at max speed. If I go to the code, you can see that the delay under void loop is at 2, and 1 step, which is the function that rotates the motor, is set to clockwise. So I can change the delay to say 10, which will make it go slower, and if I uncomment clockwise and comment out, or uncomment counterclockwise, so now if I upload this, it should rotate counterclockwise and also a little bit slower. So you see it's going counterclockwise now, and it's also considerably slower than it was when I was set to 2. There we go. So that is the stepper motor. Go over the code a little bit more. So the 4 pins must be set up from 9 to 12. Those are the output for the motor. And this is the loop that, or switch, it's a function which contains a switch that just goes from one is set to high, then next one's set to high, and it just goes like that. And the first if statement is if the direction is clockwise, which is clockwise I set to true up here. Yeah, so clockwise is true. So if the parameter is true when you call 1 step, it will do the first switch, which starts off with pin 1 to high, and sequentially it goes down to pin 4. If it's false, then it starts on pin 4 high. So that is how the direction is set. So I'll show the wiring now. There are the 4 9 to 12 pins, which then go to the 4 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 4. The power is the green wire, and the ground is the black wire. And here we have the motor spinning counterclockwise. So that is the stepper motor for module 3. This is module 3, determining torque of a stepper motor experiment. So this uses the same code and wiring as the last experiment. As you can see, running that. And this is the setup for the pulley system. So I have 1/4 so far, or right now in the bag. The distance measured for the velocity is 10 centimeters there. So, and here is the motor dental floss connected to the shaft there, and this is 30 centimeter arm radius. So let's get the 1/4 down there, and you can see here should be a blue mark on the floss. Focus better. See right there, blue mark on the floss. and we can watch that mark, and as it passes the 10 centimeters, that is how we determine the velocity. So let's get it running. And you can see it's moving up. So when it passes right there, 10 centimeters, that is when we determine the velocity. So that is the setup I have for determining the torque of the motor.